Hey, good day. I'm Marty, also known as Raging Owlbear on social media. And tonight, today, whatever time you happen to be watching it, in this video, I'm going to be reviewing Tiny Epic Dinosaurs from Games. Can't talk. From Gamelyn Games, who just recently fulfilled this Kickstarter for those of us who jumped in on it. And now it is starting to hit their shop and will likely be in other retail outlets very soon, the big ones. But I think it's already on sale on some of the smaller retail board game establishments. Okay, so that said, this is a little bit of a different thing for me to do. I don't often review board games for a couple different reasons. Nobody sends me a product, so I have to buy my own stuff. And the board game industry moves so quickly that buying your own stuff and reviewing becomes a very expensive hobby if you don't have a big site with thousands upon thousands of visitors. But every once in a while, I get something from a Kickstarter or I play something at a con that I really get excited about, and so I decided to do a blog post on it. And I just recently got my Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. I had a chance to play it with 2, 3, and solo. I haven't played it 4-player yet, but I've played it with 2 people, 3 people, and solo. And spoiler alert, I really like this game. Now, to give you an idea, because you probably don't know me and don't know my reviewing style or what types of games I might enjoy, from the worker placement category, which Tiny Epic Dinosaurs is both worker placement and some resource management. From the worker placement standpoint, my wife and I enjoy Lords of Waterdeep, which is one of her favorites. Stone Age, which is very high on both our lists. That's probably our favorite worker placement right now. But we also enjoy Viticulture. Have not had the chance to play the Tuscany expansion, just played the base game Viticulture. And again, Stone Age is really high on the list. So that gives you a pretty good idea of what we like in terms of worker placement. In terms of our other board game tastes, I tend to like some deck builders like Clank and Mystic Vale. Tyrants of the Underdark is one of my favorite combinations of deck building and area control. I love that game. Engine building, Roll for the Galaxy is super high on the list. That hits the table a lot. So hopefully that'll give you a little bit of an idea of the types of games we do enjoy. We do enjoy some engine builders. We do enjoy worker placements and deck builders. So with that in mind, like I said, similar games, Lords of Waterdeep, Viticulture, Stone Age. Let's talk about Tiny Epic Dinosaurs now. Now, I'm not going to do an entire rules. I'm not going to go through every rule, but I'm going to try to hit the high points and show you the basics of the game so you can sort of infer what you need to know. So this is the sort of basic worker placement board for Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. You have the turn tracker at the top. It gives you the different phases of each turn, gives you the turn tracker so you know where you are. You usually have actually an extra worker placement fella here on turn 4, just like something like Lords of Waterdeep, where you get an extra guy as the game progresses closer to the end. You have the contracts, which is kind of like a viticulture type thing. You have the different types of dinosaurs, Allosaurus, Velociraptors, and then any special dinosaurs are the deep purple, and Stegosaurus and Brontosaurus, etc. So those are the public contracts, which any person can grab from the contract space. So over here you grab your dinosaurs. Over here you manipulate some of the items in your ranch. Adding fences, moving fences. Contracts are up top. Research is on the bottom, which is either like a unique dinosaurs or other upgrades to your ranch that you might need, and of course resources over the far end, food and supplies and whatnot. So that's sort of the basic premise of the game. You're placing workers to get dinosaurs. You're building fences for your ranch. to enclose them. You're getting resources to feed them, and then you're paying contract. Once you've raised the dinosaurs you need to pay for your contract, you turn those in for victory points. So victory points are based on contracts that you fulfilled, and science advances and unique dinosaurs that you may have gathered, as well as dinosaurs in your ranch at the end of the game. So that's the worker placement board. Let me quickly switch you and show you the player boards. The player boards has a resource tracker on this side, so you can, you have little wooden trackers for meat sticks, for little drumsticks. You have leaves and supply crates, and so you track your basically your vegetables, your meat, and your general ranch supplies along this border here. The holding area for your ranchers right here, holding area for your dinosaurs that you may have purchased right here, and then this is the sort of feeding guide and victory point guide for the 4 base dinosaurs in your ranch. So that sort of keeps your turn tracking going. And then here is the sort of ranch card, which is 2-sided. There's several different variations. Of course, 4 cards for a 4-player game, and then each card has different sides. And basically, when you purchase your dinosaurs and you end up putting them into your ranch, you have to make sure that they end up in an enclosure. Now, you have a couple of sort of natural enclosures because you have spaces that are bordered by the mountains and the lake, and this one already has fences. So, usually you just have to buy a couple of the little fence pieces and, slot them in. If you look closely, slot them in on the dotted lines. So as an example, this enclosure over here only requires 1 fence, or right here to make a single enclosure, or you could have a double enclosure if you were to put a fence over here as an example. Same with these, you could put 2 enclosures across this, or an enclosure on the lake over here. Next to the lake over here, and an enclosure down here, and so you can have these multi-space enclosures. Obviously, you can put herbivores with herbivores and carnivores with carnivores, and then any of the special purple dinosaurs, they can actually roam freely. They don't require an enclosure as part of the rules. So that's essentially the gist of the game in terms of each phase. You gather your resources, you then do your worker placement, which allows you to get your fences and your dinosaurs. After you've done that, you then place your fences and your dinosaurs, and if you don't have proper enclosures for all your dinosaurs that you're placing into your ranch, some of your dinosaurs may escape and they cause havoc. Your carnivores will eat other dinosaurs, your herbivores will knock down your existing fences, so that can make your escape problem even worse, and things like that. So you really want to be careful about bringing in your dinosaurs, making sure that you're going to have enough enclosures at the right time when you do all the placements and whatnot, or else your ranch can go to all heck. Similarly, actually, you'll notice that the ranch has the meat and the leaf and the crate supplies. So basically, when you do your supply collection, you get anything that isn't currently covered by a dinosaur. So you have 1 dinosaur per square. And so as your ranch grows, your resources are actually going to go down, which means you're going to have to collect resources by placing into the resource spaces on the board over here. But again, just like other worker placement games, it's a balance of populating your farm, making sure your player card, you're tracking your meat and your veggies and whatnot to feed your dinosaurs appropriately, and getting your enclosures. Now, very quickly, aside from the public contracts that you fulfill, you also have a hidden private contract, and you get a second one in round 4. So you have these private contracts that are usually fairly high point value, and I think they all have 4 dinosaurs. I'll have to double check. I actually haven't seen if there's a 3 dinosaur private contract. But you can only fulfill a private contract if you also fulfill a public contract during that same worker placement. So it's a little challenging because that means you're going to have at least, you know, seven dinosaurs in your ranch with all the enclosures that you're going to need and whatnot. And you've got to, make sure you've got the resources to get to that phase where you are fulfilling your contract. So fulfilling these private contracts is pretty challenging, and will give you a significant point lead in general, because if you're fulfilling your public contracts at about the same pace as the other players, getting that extra private contract during one of the turns obviously gives you a nice boost. And the public contracts range from, I think, around 10 points to 20 points roughly, or a little bit less. And the public contracts are all in the mid-teens as well. Unless, some of them have special dinosaurs, and those pump up the value of them a bit more. So you get to, after you've placed your dinosaurs, you've fulfilled your contracts, you place your new dinosaurs out, you have to feed them, and then you make sure you have enough resources to feed them. And then if you have multiple dinosaurs in the same enclosure of the same type, like 2 stegosauruses or 3 stegosauruses or whatnot, if they're the same type in an enclosure, they will breed if you've fed them this round. And that actually is a balance as well, because sometimes you want to breed because you want to get those extra dinosaurs, but that means you're going to have dinosaurs placed into your farm that you may not have the proper set of enclosures for. So there's a lot of balancing the placement of your fencing, the number of dinosaurs currently in your ranch, making sure that you don't necessarily breed when you don't want to. And you can put, as an example, different herbivores together in the same enclosure and they won't breed. So you've got a stegosaurus and a brontosaurus together. Obviously, they can hang out together. They're not going to breed. But as soon as you get multiples of the same dinosaur, that's when you may get dinosaurs that you actually don't want. Similar when you're capturing dinosaurs on the board. Let me jump back. When you're using the worker placement spots on the board to capture dinosaurs, you roll a die. And you may accidentally end up getting two dinosaurs, which is great in the early game. It's not so great in the later game. Your rancher may also get hurt. You may have a regular successful capture. Your rancher may get hurt with the scratch mark, or you may, end up with extra dinosaurs, which again is a mixed blessing, because you may end up overpopulating your ranch accidentally. And there's various rules about, if you don't have your dinosaurs in an enclosure and how they escape, and you can do things like you're allowed to, because your carnivore is going to eat one of your herbivores. If you have an herbivore escaping and a carnivore escaping, you want the carnivore to eat the escaping other herbivore, so you only get penalized for the one that escapes, and the one that gets eaten just gets tossed out. Real quickly with the research, I very, very briefly grazed over the research, but again, with the research is how you get the sort of unique purple dinosaurs, and all the research cards, even the purple dinosaurs, usually give you some bonus power or some sort of other point bonus related to having that dinosaur in your ranch. Similarly, there's the non-dinosaur research upgrades, which do things like upgrade your ranch or give you other benefits during certain phases, in terms of feeding or housing your dinosaurs and various other things. So there's a whole bunch of research cards. Again, I'm not going to delve too deeply, but they mainly consist of unique dinosaurs, which all have some sort of special ability, and then research upgrades, farm, ranch upgrades, various things that also give you some sort of benefit. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. You do 6 rounds. You try to fulfill as many contracts as you can, or there's a strategy to also try to get lots of research, because those give you victory points as well, although only a small amount. there, as your ranch also gets populated, towards the end of the game, if you want to kind of try to fill up your ranch as well, because any unused dinosaurs, any dinosaurs you did not use for a contract, you'll get victory points for as well. So again, it's pretty standard worker placement and resource management type play, um, in that you're balancing the dinosaurs, the resources that your ranch is collecting, the resources that your workers are collecting, um, and the fulfilling contracts and doing the research stuff. So I know that was a mouthful, and I went through it very quickly. Um, Again, there's going to be tons of how to play stuff out there. Oh, very quickly, the solo game is a little bit different. You still place your workers for your own turn, but the solo player also has these cards that indicate what spaces, in a way, are filled up. And actually, I missed one thing, real quickly. Like other worker placement games, you have the sort of uh, the small meeples, and as with Viticulture and a few other games, you have like a leader meeple who's slightly larger than than the other meeples. Not a And the reason this is important is, just like with those worker placement games, if somebody is in a spot that you want, you can place your larger meeple on that spot, and he counts as sort of two ranchers. Similarly, even if you've already placed your larger meeple, you can actually place two ranchers on a spot. So let's say this spot has been taken by the orange player. You can place two normal sized ranchers on that spot, um, in addition to enable you to use that space, even though it's already taken. So just like you've seen in Viticulture, where you have the boss meeple, they have the boss meeple here. But again, you can actually use multiple meeples. It's almost like in Stone Age, where you can place more than one meeple in order to use a space that someone else is using. So I'm sorry, not exactly like Stone Age. Stone Age has multiple spaces within, but uh, so um, hopefully that gives you a broad overview of the resources and the placement. Now, knowing that I enjoy viticulture and enjoy uh, Lords of Waterdeep, and Stone Age is very high on my list. I've only played Tiny Epic Dinosaurs a few times now. I played in multiple player counts, and it is very rapidly rocketing to the top. Again, Stone Age is probably at the very top of our worker placement list at the moment, because we've only really started playing it a lot. My wife and I have started playing it a lot more recently, on the online sites, and we enjoy Viticulture as well. We don't get as much of a chance to play that one so far, and we haven't played Tuscany. My wife really enjoys Lords of Waterdeep. For me, Lords of Waterdeep is a little bit vanilla without the Skullport expansion. I like the addition of, the base Lords of Waterdeep is very much just collect resources and pay for the quests. Collect resources, pay for the quests. And for me, that's not quite as exciting. I like some other scoring mechanisms and a little bit more complexity. So Tiny Epic Dinosaurs kind of really hits that spot of balancing resources, fulfilling the contracts, um, making sure you're planning ahead with with the layout of your ranch and your enclosures. Um, I like how the enclosures have, different options. And there actually is one of the special dinosaurs uses the water spot, so you can actually put a water dinosaur in, and there's various arrangements that allow you to easily close off some of these sections, so you can make a kind of a large 3 or 4 space enclosure, or you can just zip off one little tiny thing and get like a one space enclosure, just to isolate a dinosaur or whatnot. So really like how you have to balance collecting the resources by where you're placing the dinosaurs in your enclosures, because you only collect resources that are not covered. Um, so that said, how does it compare? Honestly, it is. It's rocketing to the top of my list. I don't. I can't yet say this has now become my favorite worker placement. I think I need to play it some more to really get a feel for the strategies. Um, but it's really good, and it's a $30 retail game, um, I believe. So yeah, from a cost perspective, this is kind of a no-brainer if you enjoy those other style of worker placements. Um, if you like Stone Age, if you like Lords of Waterdeep, this one has that extra complexity um, above Lords of Waterdeep, and has a similar complexity to Stone Age, but the strategy is obviously very different because in Stone Age you're collecting secret points that the other players don't know about. Here, your points are a little bit more out in the open. You're not exactly sure how much the person has collected in terms of their contracting whatnot, but you get an idea. Well, lastly, I'll say before I conclude, I don't usually play a lot of games solo. It's just not solo gaming. Board gaming is just I prefer the give and take of playing with other players. Um, I do enjoy the solo version of this. It is different. Um, as I noted, there are places that the cards in the solo play, when the solo player places does an action, that entire card is considered taken up. So you have to use two meeples or your lead rancher for that particular spot. If the solo player has played in one of these, you can't really see it very well, A, B, C, or D spaces over there. I found the solo play very challenging. As a matter of fact, there are, if you go to the Board Game Geek forums, there are a lot of people who are like, "Wow, this is super brutal," and I can't. I wish there was an easier way. And so people are already talking about house ruling solo play so it'll be easier. However, if you read through the threads, which I did when I started solo play, because there was a couple rules foibles that were a little bit unclear. More so in the solo play than the various versions. Just I'll say off the top, the base game, the non-solo game, we had like a couple rule questions as we were sort of learning it, but for the most part, the rules are pretty solid. We didn't find too many edge cases that weren't explained well. Um, and reading through the rule booklet is fairly breezy. It's not too difficult to sort of figure out, especially the way they break out the phases. Um, for the solo play, there were a few more edge cases though that weren't quite worded well, and the solo rules weren't clarified. So you had to go out to BGG or some sort of forum to discover what you might be playing wrong. And I did only get to play one full solo game. I beat the AI, but I think I kind of cheated because I wasn't certain about one of the rules, and I might have played it wrong. And so the AI probably should have fulfilled a contract that I didn't get to fulfill. That said, it is challenging. The solo play is very challenging, but there is sort of a strategy of you have to kind of deny the solo player, the programmed player. You have to try to deny them the dinosaurs. You don't focus so much on fulfilling your own contracts as you are preventing them from fulfilling contracts. So I don't know how much legs the solo play has. The good news about the solo play is there actually are, for each player card has a different style of solo opponent. So there's a scientist who goes for research, which is the one I played. There's a poacher. There's various different styles. The breeder, which tries to breed a lot of dinosaurs. The contractor, who fulfills contracts fairly quickly from what I read, and so is probably one of the more challenging ones. and the poacher who steals your dinosaurs and steals your crap, which is obviously not, probably challenging too, because like right as you think you're honing in on some victory points, this guy comes along and grabs something of yours. Um, so overall, to kind of tie a bow on this before it gets too long, it's a buy. I mean, it's $30. If you like worker placement, you're almost certainly like Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. I think it has good legs. The board does vary for the different player counts. I never felt like I didn't play the 4-player version, but I never felt like I was too constrained about which spaces I could take. There was never a time that I thought I was fully blocked out, or if I was blocked out, there was another choice that was satisfactory for me. So there's that might for some people maybe that, and again, I've only had a few plays under my belt, so I have to see further how that develops. But for some people who really want those very tight boards where yeah, every decision is a really difficult one, and you might be purposely trying to block out the other players or various stuff. I think the nice thing about this is it makes it a little less cutthroat, because you can utilize your lead rancher to get on a space. And usually if the exact space that you didn't want is not available, there may be something that you can do that will still work well for your ranch. So that said, I felt like the options were good. There wasn't a ton of analysis paralysis, which is a little bit of a problem for me. I have to admit, I get into what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And in this case, I usually knew what I wanted to do, and I often had a secondary action if that action it was taken. So that's pretty much it. It's a buy. I mean, it's a good game. It's inexpensive. Um, is there a con that I can name? Like any game with small pieces, you have to be careful about knocking your stuff around, because obviously your feeding track, those little tiny wooden bits are going to slide around real easy if you knock stuff around. And the nice thing is the box serves as a rolling tray, so when you do have to roll the die, make sure people are rolling in the box, because if that die goes skittering across the table, yeah, your game will be destroyed. Meeples flying everywhere, some player cards, who knows what. So you do have to, again, like other games of this variety, the cards, have some capability of being knocked around. That I'm sure there'll be a ton of third-party solutions that might come out. Although with the Tiny Epic Games, that game trays are probably not as big as, say, one of the big $70 to $100 games. Terraforming Mars. So minor consideration. Just be careful when you're playing any sort of Tiny Epic game, because bumping the game area can move stuff around, obviously. I don't know if I see that as a con or not. Oh, just real quick, so you can get a good view. My other camera, unfortunately, I want to apologize for the amount of graininess on it. The settings just wouldn't quite tweak for me, but here we have these really nice wooden pieces for the dinosaurs. The Allosaurus. We have the Brontosaurus piece. That's lovely. We got the Stegosaurus. All these very, very nicely shaped pieces, and then you have sorry. Then you have your specials, your little purple dinosaurs, which are all unique sculpts. So everybody can sort of see. You know which of your dinosaurs, your specials, that you've sort of sold away through contracts, and that was that's pretty much it. Again, the rules were fairly clear. The only difficulties we sometimes had were the special dinosaurs. it wasn't always clear. In general, you get the special ability that the special dinosaur card, basically it'll either say, hey, when this dinosaur is in your ranch, you get this thing, or it'll say during this phase you get to do this thing. So we ruled, and we believe this is how it works, and I need to again do the little research, that even if you sold off that dinosaur, your special ability stayed on as long as the card didn't say with the dinosaur in your ranch. Like if it didn't have that specific wording, I'm pretty sure that you got to keep whatever special ability that the card grants you if it's not related to placement of the dinosaur, physical placement of the dinosaur within the ranch. Those are really the only kind of minor things that popped up. Um, oh, and the other thing is that when your rancher does get hurt, the penalty is actually not that bad. You still get the dinosaur and you get your rancher back normally in that same turn. The only thing that sort of prevents you from doing is it obviously frees up the space for other players, and it doesn't allow you to move that meeple during, if you have another card that says, hey, reuse this particular rancher or whatever, unless you have the one that says reuse the rancher that's in medical leave. I don't want to get into that. I'm getting too deep into the weeds. I like the game. I think you'll like the game too. Um, yeah, maybe I should have just opened with those two sentences. Owlbear approved. It's not a thing. Owlbear approved. Thumbs up. Whatever you want to give it. I like this game. You'll probably like it too. So, I've been Raging Owlbear. Please like and subscribe. I don't do reviews that often, but I do other tabletop and board gaming related videos. And I have a little thing where I do some streaming on the side just for fun. You can ignore those if you want. But please like and subscribe to give me a little bit of a lift. I would really appreciate it. And I hope this review has been helpful. So thanks for jumping in, and I'll hopefully see you again soon.